All right, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about my technology workshop that I did. I did my workshop on Class Notebook, and I'm just going to kind of work through everything that I put together that matches the rubric. So the first thing I was asking for was the 3 or more student-created handouts that support learning. So if we go here, this is where my promotional flyer and handouts are, and you can see my flyer. I just embedded it right here as a photo so you guys can read it. I did offer coffee and treats because it was coming to the end of November, and you know how we're all feeling then. So I feel like that helped get some people there. Class Notebook's been really big at our school this year, or OneNote has been really big at our school this year. So using this as like a way to tie in with the other technology workshops that we've had made it a little bit easier to garner a little bit of interest too. Over here I have my 3 handouts. One, and they're very basic. One is just for teachers, and it's just a quick little reference for them. So that's one there. One is how to find your student email list. This is a question that would keep coming up. It was a question that I had, and so it's a great, and it has all your visuals that you need to find your email list that you would need to include your students on your class notebooks. And then the last one is just fun tools and different things that you can use in Class Notebook with your students, or that students can use as they are collaborating together. So like ink to text, ink to math, recording audio, the immersive reader. I use it with my kids all the time. So there's just different ones, different buttons and what they do. So those were the 3 handouts that I created. Then the next one that I was asking for, is, if I can go down, when it's talking about the online instructional component. And for this, I have obviously the website that we have going on, and also for the lesson, I included the workshop lesson that I used. I used a PowerPoint just as a visual when we were going through it. Most of the time we've spent in OneNote and Class Notebook, but I like to have something to kind of direct and guide where we would be going with it. So this is what I used in the workshop as I went through it. I kind of started with this just to make sure that they would have things ready. I also included different videos. We didn't really watch these during the workshop just because time was an issue, but I left them in there so as I sent it out to people, they could go back and watch the tutorials and the videos. So we just kind of worked our way through this. There were a couple of QR codes for them to join my notebook. Now this is a little tricky because I had some people show up that I didn't know they were coming, and with your notebooks they are private unless you make them open to all, and so I had to add them quickly and make sure the link was sent. But that made it easier so we could talk about how you could make it private or you could make it public depending on what you needed for that notebook. Same video tutorials. This is another guide on how to get student emails, and then we worked with an example, and then I gave them time to practice. So this was the major chunk just to help guide us, and they used that. And then I have my lesson plan right here. Once again, very basic. It has the learning targets, the standards, a brief overview of the lessons that we did. I really just did block by block. We did a review of OneNote, we did an intro to Class Notebook, and then some different tools that they could use, including the collaboration room, which a lot of them were really interested in, and then materials and the survey at the end. And then I also included a screencast for creating a class notebook, just step by step to get through just the very basic part of creation. There isn't a lot of play in there. and that is something that I would want to do a second workshop to include that. So that's another video that you can watch for that. Go back over here. Additional elements. One of them was the YouTube video I just showed you. Let's see, the promotional flyers up there, and then I did describe kind of the implementation of it a little bit in my evaluation that I did. So if we go back over here, the next is the evaluation instrument. And this, I embedded it so you can see the questions without having to click on it. And you can kind of go through and see very simple questions about what they would have to answer. I wish I had them do the survey while they were there. I sent it out later, and I didn't get responses from everyone back, so that's something that if I were to do it again, I would make sure that they have access to that at the time. I'm really struggling here. And then the evaluation data and the narrative is, if we go up, or I'll go back. Then up here, I have the reflection, and my narrative is in here, so I can open that up. And this is my narrative, and I kind of talked about how the lesson went. I was definitely surprised by all the questions they had still about OneNote, but then I was able to include this. So I like that they found that I was very helpful. The pacing was off. It's a lot of content to cover because it's not anything super specific, and a lot of it was individualized. So the timing and the practice especially is something that I would work on as I go into the future. So that is my narrative, and that should just about cover everything that we needed for this 1-hour technology workshop. Thanks.